The pounding shook the glass panes before I even reached the foyer. "Come out right now!" she shrieked, her fists thudding like war drums against the wood. "This isn't your property!" I opened the door slowly, holding my son behind me. And there she stood, a neighbor I barely knew, flanked by two bulky men in gray tactical vests. She grinned like a cat cornering its prey. "Gentlemen, that's him. Remove him!" My pulse jumped. The men looked wrong. No insignias, no squad markings, no radio static. One muttered something about orders from management. Son's hand clung tighter to mine. The neighbor folded her arms with smug authority, expecting me to crumble. What she didn't notice was the quiet figure stepping out from the hallway. My husband's tone was calm when he spoke, but the badge he raised gleamed under the porch light. "Federal investigator. Anyone planning to impersonate law enforcement tonight?" The silence was instant. The taller man's jaw twitched. His partner's gaze dropped to the ground. The neighbor's smirk faltered, then snapped back in defiance. "You're bluffing," she spat. "That badge is fake." My husband didn't even blink. "You sure about that?" he asked softly. The air thickened. One of the fake enforcers mumbled, "Ma'am, we should go." But she shoved him forward, hissing, "Finish it." I leaned on the doorframe, steadying my breath before I finally spoke. Strange how some people believe they can summon force on land that isn't theirs to police. That strip of grass belonged to the city trust, not the residents' committee. Marjorie whirled toward me, anger sparking across her eyes. "Don't you dare," she began, voice brittle. But before she finished, Lena produced a phone and tapped it once. A tiny red bulb glowed, recording every order. Every menace, every false command was being logged. The two men in plain gray shirts shared a quick, fearful glance. One breathed, "We should leave." Marjorie planted herself between them and me, teeth bared, murmuring, "Not until they pay for this." I let a small smile curve my lips as I watched her, unravel in slow motion, confident she couldn't see what was coming. She tried to rally, voice cracking on the edges. "This is common ground under the association's control. I have authority here." She jabbed a finger like a spear toward my chest. "You're being evicted," she declared, the word thrown like a gauntlet. "My son, little Milo," whispered from behind my knee, voice thin. "Why do their badges look like stickers?" The bluntness of him landed harder than any insult. The faux enforcers shifted, their flimsy emblems catching lantern light and looking suddenly flimsy. Lena raised the phone higher, steady as a lighthouse. "Keep talking," she said softly to Marjorie. "The precinct will be delighted by this footage." That was the moment. Marjorie made a reckless choice. She lunged forward, swiping at Lena's hand with a hiss. "You won't record this," she spat. She didn't notice Lena's practiced routine. One device slid into Lena's coat pocket as if by habit. A second continued to film from the inside of her jacket, its lens a quiet witness. I stepped between them, feeling the air tighten, and my voice came low and clear. "You just assaulted someone on municipal land." "My home counts as federal evidence now," I said. The two imposters bristled, feet ready to run. But Marjorie roared, "Arrest them! Do it now, or you'll all pay." And then the crunch of tires announced new arrivals at the drive, headlights carving through the dusk. The door swung open, and there they were, two burly men in mismatched navy jackets, flanking her like hired muscle. Marjorie's grin stretched wide, her finger already stabbing the air toward me. "Gentlemen, that's the intruder. Detain him." My chest tightened. They didn't look official. No polished badges. No patrol car humming at the curb. Just two men with uneven patches stitched to their sleeves. One mumbled something about company orders while avoiding my eyes. Milo's small hand locked around mine, trembling. Marjorie folded her arms as if the entire block bowed to her command, waiting for me to snap. I nearly laughed at the absurdity. She had no idea that my husband stood quietly behind me. When he stepped forward, the gold emblem in his hand caught the streetlight. Federal Bureau crest, unmistakable. His voice was calm, clipped. "Touch him and that's obstruction." The silence split in half. Marjorie's shrill protest tore through the air. "They're lying! I didn't hire anyone! They're framing me!" But the truth surfaced fast. One of the real patrol officers who'd just arrived reached into one of the imposter's coat pockets and pulled out a wrinkled envelope. Inside, cash and a note with Marjorie's name. Gasps rippled through the small crowd gathering at the curb. Her face drained white, but her mouth still moved, desperate. "You can't do this!" "I manage this district." I stepped forward, keeping my voice even. "You don't manage a thing here, Marjorie. Not these homes, not these streets, and definitely not my family." Milo pressed closer, his eyes wide but calmer now, safety reflected in them. My husband raised his phone, steady, official. His tone sharpened. "Ma'am, you're interfering with a federal case. That alone can earn you handcuffs." Marjorie's mouth trembled, but instead of retreating, she whirled to the watching neighbors. "Don't listen to them," she cried. "He's a fraud, shouldn't even be in this community. His family doesn't belong here." That was the final spark. Lena's patience broke with surgical precision. She turned toward the officers, her voice loud enough to carry down the entire street. "Check her record," she said. "You'll find multiple citations for harassment, forged committee notices, and unauthorized enforcement actions." The words cut the air like glass. Even the officers hesitated before one nodded and keyed his radio. The reply came fast, crackling through the static. Confirmation after confirmation. Every line exposing Marjorie's false authority. She stumbled backward, her confidence bleeding away as the voice over the radio listed off her infractions. False notices, intimidation, trespassing. The neighborhood erupted in low murmurs. Phones rose, flashlights blinking, people whispering in disbelief. Her imaginary crown was slipping, but instead of surrender, she clawed for another lie. "This is entrapment!" she shouted. "You're all conspiring against me." Then her fury found me. "You don't belong here, do you? You couldn't afford this place if you tried," she spat, jabbing her finger. I'd been waiting for that moment. Slowly, I pulled a folded document from my back pocket, the deed to my home. I held it up under the porch light. "Interesting thing about paperwork," I said evenly. "This property's in my name, paid off, and free of your so-called committee's reach." The crowd stirred. Some even laughed, others recording every second. Marjorie's mouth worked soundlessly, her control gone. Lena stepped closer, calm as sunrise. "And in case anyone's wondering," she added, "he's not just a homeowner. He's a firefighter who's risked his life for this town. The same town she's been, exploiting." That line hit like thunder. Applause broke out, one neighbor calling, "Finally someone put her in her place!" The officers traded glances before one stepped forward, voice firm. "Ma'am, turn around. You're being detained for impersonation, harassment, and endangerment," Marjorie screamed, thrashing as they reached for her wrists. But no one yet knew she still had one desperate move left to play.